So you got the job. Fantastic. Pop the champagne. Call your mother. Post that obligatory humble brag on LinkedIn about how humbled and honored you are to start your new journey. We all know you're just happy about the pay bump, but play the game. Okay, are we done with the self-congratulation? Good, because now the panic sets in. You know that feeling I'm talking about. You walk into the lobby on day one and suddenly you feel like a toddler wandering into a lecture on astrophysics. You don't know where the bathroom is, you don't know whose coffee mug you just accidentally stole, and you definitely don't know how to do the job you just convinced them you're an expert in. Welcome to the transition zone. This is where careers go to die, or at least get a really nasty flu. I'm going to walk you through a book that is basically the survival guide for this specific kind of purgatory. It is called The First 90 Days by Michael Watkins. This isn't just a book, it's the holy scripture of not getting fired during your probation period. Watkins did the math, and he found out that the actions you take during your first 3 months largely determine whether you're going to be a success or a spectacular failure. The core problem the book solves is something called the break-even point. Imagine a graph. When you start, you are a net consumer of value. You are sucking resources, time, and attention out of the company like a corporate vampire. You don't know anything, so you can't contribute anything. The goal is to reach the break-even point, the moment you start contributing as much value as you consume, as fast as humanly possible. If you take 6 months to get there, people will start wondering why they hired you. If you do it in 90 days, you look like a genius. So, grab a notebook or just open the Notes app on your phone that you only use for grocery lists and listen up. Here are the distinct lessons you need to master so you don't end up eating lunch alone in your car for the next 2 years. Lesson number 1 is what Watkins calls promote yourself. Now, this doesn't mean walking around with a megaphone shouting about how great you are. It actually means the opposite. It means you need to mentally fire yourself from your old job. This is the biggest trap smart people fall into. You got hired because you were amazing at your last gig, right? You were the king of the spreadsheet or the duke of sales. So naturally, you walk into the new job and try to do exactly what you did at the old job. This is a disaster. It is like breaking up with someone and then acting exactly the same way with your new partner. You cannot keep bringing up how your ex made lasagna. Your new partner doesn't care. They hate lasagna. They want tacos. If you keep trying to solve your new company's problems with your old company's solutions, you are going to alienate everyone. You have to let go of the past. You have to realize that what got you here won't get you there. You need to adopt a beginner's mindset. Stop answering questions and start asking them. If you come in on day one saying, well, at my old firm, we did it this way, everyone is mentally checking out and start fantasizing about your resignation. Lesson number 2 is accelerate your learning. You need to drink from the fire hose without drowning. When you start, you are drowning in information. Product specs, acronyms that sound like alien languages, and the names of 47 people who all look vaguely similar. Watkins suggests you need a systematic learning plan. You can't just absorb things by osmosis. You need to be an aggressive sponge. Think of this like becoming a detective in a noir movie. You are investigating a crime scene, but the crime is the company's current state. You need to interview the witnesses, your team, your boss, the weird guy in IT who knows where the bodies are buried. You need to figure out the hard data, like financials and strategy, but more importantly, you need to figure out the soft data, the culture, the politics. Who really holds the power? Is it the CEO or is it the executive assistant who controls the CEO's calendar? Usually, it's the assistant. Most people treat learning like a passive activity. They wait for HR to give them an orientation binder. No, that binder is useless. That binder tells you where the fire exits are. It doesn't tell you that if you schedule a meeting at 4 p.m. on a Friday, the sales team will riot. You need to aggressively hunt for information. Ask questions like, what is the biggest challenge we are facing right now? Or why was this strategy chosen over that one? Be the detective, not the tourist. Lesson number 3 is probably the most useful framework in the whole book. It is called Match Strategy to Situation, or the STARS model, STARS. This stands for Startup, Turnaround, Accelerated Growth, Realignment, and Sustaining Success. Here's the reality. You cannot lead the same way in every situation. If you walk into a turnaround, meaning the business is on fire, the employees are weeping in the hallways, and the bank is calling every hour, you need to be a dictator. You are an emergency room surgeon. You don't ask the patient if they feel like having surgery today. You cut. You make fast, hard decisions to save the life of the patient. But if you treat a sustaining success situation like a turnaround, you will destroy it. Sustaining success is like taking over a championship sports team. They're already winning. If you come in screaming, flipping tables, and trading players just to show who's the boss, you break the rhythm. You need to be a diplomat, not a surgeon. You need to respect what is working and only tweak the edges. Watkins argues that most failures happen because people misdiagnose the situation. They act like they're in a startup when they're actually in a realignment. In a startup, you have to build everything from scratch. There are no rules. It's chaos. You have to be an architect. In a realignment, the organization has drifted. They are successful, but getting lazy. You have to be a physiotherapist, gently snapping the bones back into place without causing a mutiny. Know which movie you're in before you start acting. Lesson number 4 is secure early wins. You need to put points on the board fast. Within the first 30 days, you need to identify a few visible, tangible improvements you can make. This isn't about saving the whole company in month 1. It's about proving you're not useless. It builds momentum, and more importantly, it buys you trust. Think of this like being a house guest. If you stay at someone's house for a week and you just sit on the couch eating their Doritos, they get annoyed. But on the second day, if you fix that leaky faucet they've been complaining about for years, suddenly you're the best guest ever. You can eat all the Doritos you want. You need to find the leaky faucet in your new department. Maybe it's a report that takes 10 hours to run that you can automate. Maybe it's a weekly meeting that is a total waste of time that you cancel. These wins act as currency. Every time you fix something small and annoying, you deposit trust in the bank. Later, when you need to make a big, painful change, you can withdraw that trust. But if you haven't fixed the faucet, don't try to remodel the kitchen. Before we move on to the trickier parts of office politics, I have a small request. I'm trying to secure an early win here myself with the YouTube algorithm. It's a tough boss, very demanding, hates silence. So if you're enjoying this breakdown, do me a solid and gently tap that like button. You don't have to smash it, just a polite tap will do. And while you're down there, hit subscribe so we can hang out again. I also want to know, what is the biggest disaster you have ever witnessed during someone's first week at a job? Did they reply all to the whole company? Did they set the microwave on fire? Tell me in the comments. I read them all because I need the validation. All right, back to business. Lesson number 5 is negotiate success. This is all about managing your boss. Most people think the boss manages them. That is adorable, but wrong. You have to manage the boss. You need to shape their expectations. If you don't define what success looks like, they will define it for you, and their definition will probably be impossible to achieve. Watkins talks about having a series of 5 conversations with your boss. The most important one is the expectations conversation. You need to sit down and say, okay, in 90 days, what exactly needs to happen for you to be happy you hired me? Get it in writing. If they say, I want you to increase sales, that is too vague. You need them to say, I want sales up 4% in the Northeast region. This is like ordering a custom cake. If you just tell the baker, make it nice, you might end up with a fruitcake, and nobody wants a fruitcake. If you say, I want chocolate with vanilla frosting and Batman on top, you get exactly what you want. You need to tell your boss exactly what kind of cake you're baking so they aren't disappointed when you serve it. You also need to have the resource conversation. This is where you say, look, I can give you the Batman cake, but I need budget for the chocolate and a sous chef to help me mix the batter. Don't promise the moon if you don't have a rocket ship. Lesson number 6 is achieve alignment. This sounds like corporate buzzword soup, but stick with me. It just means checking if the car actually has an engine before you try to drive it. Watkins uses a model of strategy, structure, systems, skills, and culture. Here's the analogy. Imagine you're the coach of a football team. The owner tells you the strategy is to be a high-speed passing offense. Great. But then you look at your players, the structure, and they're all slow, heavy defensive linemen. Then you look at the playbook, the systems, and it's from 1970. Then you look at the culture, and the players hate practicing. You are not aligned. You cannot execute a new strategy with an old structure. If you are hired to make a company more innovative, but the bonus system pays people for doing the same thing over and over again efficiently, you will fail. The structure is fighting the strategy. Your job in the first 90 days is to look under the hood and see where the disconnects are. You're the mechanic. If the strategy is to go off-road, you better make sure you're not driving a Ferrari. You need to spot these misalignments early, otherwise you'll be stepping on the gas and the car will just make a loud noise and go nowhere. Lesson number 7 is build your team. This is the hardest part. You have to evaluate the people you inherited. Watkins says you need to decide quickly who stays, who goes, and who needs to be moved. You cannot be afford to be sentimental. It's like fantasy football but with people's livelihoods, which sounds harsh, but remember the break-even point.
If you have a defensive coordinator who doesn't believe in defense, you're going to lose. You have to assess the team. You will usually find three types of people. The high performers, keep them, hug them, buy them lunch. The low performers, you have to move them out fast. And the middle group, the people who might be good if they had better direction. The mistake new leaders make is waiting too long to fire the toxic people. They think, oh, I can change him, I can fix him. No, you can't. He's been complaining about the coffee since 1998. He is not going to change. By keeping him, you are signaling to the high performers that mediocrity is acceptable. You need to make the tough calls within that 90-day window while you still have the new guy halo protecting you. Finally, lesson number 8 is create coalitions. This is fancy talk for make friends.
Corporate politics gets a bad rap. We like to think that if we just do good work, we will be rewarded. That is a lovely fairy tale. In the real world, you need allies. You need to identify the people who influence the decisions. These are the stakeholders. You need to figure out who supports your agenda, who opposes it, and who can be convinced. It is exactly like the show Survivor. You cannot win the game on your own. You need an alliance. You need to go have coffee with the head of marketing, even if you think marketing is fluff. You need to chat up the CFO, even if he scares you. You need to build relationship capital. If you try to push a major change through and you haven't done the groundwork of getting people on your side, you will get blocked. And you won't even know who blocked you. It will just die in a committee meeting. You need to map out the influence networks. Who listens to who? Who eats lunch together? That is where the real decisions are made. Not in the boardroom, but at the sandwich shop down the street. Don't be the lone wolf. Lone wolves starve. So, let's wrap this up. What is the big takeaway here? The takeaway is that the first 90 days are a sprint, but it is a strategic sprint. You cannot just run around like a headless chicken trying to do everything. You need to have a plan. You need to mentally leave your old job. You need to learn the new culture like an anthropologist. You need to diagnose the business situation. Are you in a startup or a turnaround? You need to get some quick, easy wins to show you aren't a fraud. You need to align the expectations with your boss so you don't get fired for failing a test you didn't know you were taking. You need to fix the team, and you need to make friends who can help you win. If you do all of this, you hit that break-even point. You become an asset. You become the person they are glad they hired. If you ignore this advice and just wing it, well, update your resume because you might be needing it again sooner than you think. Transitions are vulnerable times. You are naked in the wilderness. This book is your survival kit. Use the tools. Don't try to build a cabin with your bare hands when someone just handed you a hammer and a blueprint. Go out there, figure out who the boss really is, fix a leaky faucet, and for the love of everything holy, stop talking about how you did things at your old job. Nobody cares. Now, if you found this helpful, or if you just enjoyed hearing me stress you out about your career, remember to subscribe. I've got more life-saving advice coming your way. And seriously, drop a comment below. What is the one piece of advice you would give to someone starting their first day tomorrow? Let's help the rookies out. Until next time, good luck, and try not to trip on your way in.